Since January 1st, 2015, how many people have been killed by the police in the United States?
7,000 maybe.
8,000?
I have no idea.
And when I say killed by the police, what do I mean?
I assume like police brutality, like they're like
Police brutality.
they're like murdered by the police.
Murdered by the police.
Or do you mean like killed?
No,
by the
hang on. I'm not, just where's your mind go?
My mind goes to police brutality.
Okay.
I would say the same thing.
Same thing?
Just based off of stuff I've learned in like criminology, but that stat I'm assuming is relating to just any death in an interaction with the police.
So that's the number, okay? Been killed by the police. So now let's look at what that means. 8,100, is that a lot? Is it not a lot? Like, what's that number mean for you?
That is a lot.
Feels like a lot?
Yeah.
There's 330 million
I
Americans,
still feel like
950,000 sworn police officers, 65 million contacts every year, 10 million arrests. 8,166 people are killed by the police.
I still feel like that's a lot.
Okay. All right, well, let me go through the numbers, and then let's see what that means. What percentage of people killed by the police are white?
30%?
30?
Yeah, I'd say 30% as well.
Something like 30? Do you? What's that? Oh, you know that? Okay. What's your?
I mean, just by the numbers, it is mostly white people, I believe.
By the numbers, mostly white people. Here, let me show you this, right? Go to the next slide. So the 60.1% is the percentage of people who identify as white in the United States. 51% are the number of the 8,000. For black people, 12.6% of the population and 27% of the population of people who are killed by the police. Other would be people of Asian ancestry, Native American ancestry, and so on. I would say that the unknowns aren't unknowns because police are hiding them, because they're black and brown people and they're hiding them. The unknowns may be a little bit disproportionate. They're going to mostly mirror these percentages right here. Okay? I don't know that, but it's my sense of what I know of the data. So here's a question for everybody. How many were unarmed? So Abigail said, when I said, what's it mean when I say people who are killed by the police? What she said, what you're talking about are people who were murdered by the police. They were killed by the police through some, I don't know, what did you say? Is that what you said? I don't remember.
Is that police brutality?
Police brutality. So somehow the police acted wrongly and they killed people. Okay? Brutality. So that's where your mind goes. Okay? So now, yeah.
That's where my mind goes, but I know that some people are probably armed and like going against the police, and sometimes they have to take force. But yeah, that's where my mind goes.
Okay, got it. All right. I think that's where most people's mind goes. When I ask that question, how many are killed by the police? My guess is that's where most minds went. Of the 8,166 people killed, like look, and blunt objects, by the way, are hammers, bats, clubs. I mean, there are any number of things that people can use. Other could be hatchets, swords, spears, crossbows, and replica guns, because replica guns are replica guns. A police officer, if you pull a replica gun on a police officer, they don't know if it's a real gun or not a gun. Okay, vehicles, undetermined or unknown. So some of the undetermined or unknowns are unarmed. And some of these doesn't mean that the person pulled the weapon on the cop. The police killed that person and they had a weapon on them. They had a knife or they had a gun or they had something. So it doesn't mean just because 463 people are unarmed, it doesn't mean the police didn't act in a way that they shouldn't have acted. We are a land that has created a very strong policing with strong procedures that if you get out of hand, we've given the authority to police to take lives. For whatever reason, this is the way we've decided that we're going to do policing. It's starting to change. And like when I talk to police, it makes sense. Every time I walk through a case of somebody getting shot by the police or taken down by the police, and they walk me through what happens step by step by step, in the end, I always go, I see that. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I see it. So it doesn't mean the 463 people are just like standing around, like Tyree Nichols, the police just kill them. There's something happening, but still they're unarmed. And still, when we think about being killed by the police and police brutality and police murder, 8,166, it's not 8,166 because some of these folks, a very large number of them actually, are acting in ways that are definitely dangerous to other people or dangerous to the police. Of the unarmed people, 148 were black. Now, if it was fair and distributed equally, right, meaning if unarmed black people were killed as often as unarmed white people and Hispanic people and Asian people, the numbers would be what they are in the red. 278 of the 463 would be white. 60 of the 463 would be black. And 88 would be Hispanic. So the Hispanics, it's what it is. So right there, you say like, what is it that black people who are unarmed are more likely to be killed by? Like, what's going on? The question I have is, are these numbers enough for people to make these blanket, generalizable statements about all police? Like, what are we looking at here? Like it's a problem. It's a problem. I'm not defending the police. I'm thinking it through. Like right now, I'm thinking through out loud. And I'm thinking through as a white man who's at this stage in my life, it is highly unlikely that I'm going to have any confrontation with the police at all unless I start it. Whereas I look around the room at all these young people, all of you, and I see white people, black people, brown people, and I think, yeah, it's not completely fair. But when I look at the numbers, it's like, well, how unfair is it? So if we think only in terms of activism, it seems like, whoa, it's so skewed. And if we think about it in terms of trying to really get to the answers, maybe we come to some different thoughts about it. You know? The title of the class is Heartbreak and Hope, was it? Heartbreak and Hope, is that what it was? Yeah. Well, here's the hope. We have really started to reform police, mostly because of black people, by the way. So white people, look here. 197 million white Americans. In 2015, 31 unarmed people were killed, white people were killed by the police. In 2022, 9 people. In 2021, it was less. It's just been going down. And white people, let me just say something to you for a second. Fewer unarmed white people were killed by the police because of black people. Because black people took to the streets. And black people said, there's racism going on. We're going out in the streets. We're going to protest this. And they went after police and policing. And the police and policing had to respond. And they have responded. And some of the demands are pretty extreme and some don't make a lot of sense. But others are saying, no, this is a racist, corrupt institution and we need to look at it. And some people maybe their assessment as entirely racist and entirely corrupt is like, okay, hang on a second. But black people took to the streets. It's like, okay, so look at the numbers. This is the hope. You know, all of you who are involved in policing, anybody out here, you be better cops across the board. Commit less egregious just actions against the citizens you're supposed to protect because people took to the streets. And police are attacked, you know. Felonious deaths. Felonious deaths are deaths in which somebody actively tried to kill and killed a police officer. So like that would be, you know, your father, you know, your uncle, right? Like these are, come on, all these people have families. So it's also, you got to see police as some level protecting, they're also protecting themselves, which is not, doesn't give them a right to attack people, but there is something here in this society we've made where we just keep ratcheting up the violence. It's like, come on, people. One final thing. Next slide. There was a student group who, mostly students, I think, who protested at the municipal building in front of the cops. That's the cops right back there, the police department. It's like, fuck you, State College Police, abolish the police, ACAB. You know what ACAB stands for? You guys know, right? You know? Do you not know?
Is it all cops are bastards?
All cops are bastards. It's like, is that really 950,000 police officers, all cops are bastards? It's like, come on, man. Like, can we, like, all frat boys are bastards. All Penn Staters are assholes because you're at Penn State. And you know the Sandusky scandal. Why'd you come here? You shouldn't be here. So you're all like supporting child pedophilia and you're all assholes. You shouldn't be here. Penn State should have been closed down. So you're all assholes. All cops are bastards. That's how it works, right? And then no police on campus. Like, okay. What do you think your dad would say about today when he watches today's class?
I think he'd like that you touched on everything, every little aspect, every little thought.
Do you think he would agree that when I was a part of where I'm talking about, you know, it's an institution, all law enforcement is slanted against black and brown people at some level, to some degree.
To some degree, yeah.
Uh-huh. And by the way, you know, your dad, he worked in McKeesport, right? Where those the police officer was just killed 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, that's been a big thing going on right now.
Yeah, I mean,
just worrying about his past cop buddies and friends and things like that. He was saying, like, I came home every day.
Yeah.
Which is hard to think about.
They are still people. I mean, they're doing their job, but they are still someone's dad, someone's brother, someone's something. And the ones that you do see in the media that are doing things that are terrible, that doesn't represent the majority, and nor does the majority support them in any way. I mean, you're going to have a hard time finding any police officer that supports anyone who does something like this that are the names of the people on those posters.
There is a way in which police, like any organization, any group of people, will circle the wagons to protect themselves, right? So police will be like, yeah, I got to protect this other person over here just because, even though they did wrong, you know, I still got to support them and protect them, okay? We do that when we make these strong teams and when we do this kind of stuff, right? It's getting hard. It's getting more difficult to do, and we're now part of the changes that are starting to take place. It's like, for example, municipalities are passing laws that say, like, if you see a police officer, anybody doing something that is illegal, then you have to step up. And if you don't step up, then you will be, you're threatened with prosecution and arrest. And that includes if you see a police officer using a chokehold on somebody and you're another police officer, it's not, you have to step in and do something because we're going to arrest you. And so we've now started to take these kinds of actions. We're going to pass laws to ensure that you do the right thing. And this is part of the changes that we're starting to see. And there's probably a problem with that, but nonetheless, this is important. Final thought, and then we'll do the quiz.
I think it's more of like the system than the actual people in it. I know, like, where I'm from, like, I used to, like, see police, like, every single day when I, like, go to school, like, the commute to school, and, like, in certain areas, I saw police more, and then in other areas, I didn't see them as much. So I think it's just up to the system to be educating the police officers on certain things.
For
and
sure.
Also, like, as much as, like, their people, they have family, also the people on the street in the community.
People and citizens have family. At the end of the day, every citizen has a home they want to go home to.
Another thing, too, is, like, people just automatically assume what the police officers are bad. So when I would say, oh, my dad's a police officer, I'd get, oh,
yeah,
my
exactly.
dad's a police officer. So I'd get ashamed to say it, too. But just because my dad's a police officer doesn't mean that I'm a crappy person.
No, dude. It doesn't mean
like
your
that,
dad
too.
is. Dude, we want police officers. Like, I want to be able to get on my phone and call the police when I need the police. It's like, come on, man. Like, so I had a police in tears one time at this idea, a cop, just like how terrible it is, the hate that he experiences from people.